Da 130 anni in Italia.
Because it's an emotional game and you do get caught up in it and you do want to win as well, which ultimately is the key thing. So I think
you could always hear him snarling, chap. Always hear him snarling on the way, right behind you. Here he comes.
Well, I was going to end by saying you've marked both Chris and Dion, David. Who was the harder one to
physically marked?
Who was the harder one to mark?
Oh, they're both top players, those guys. And they're both doing really well in their media
Well done,
stuff as
Dave.
well, so well done, guys. Stick together.
Oh, so disappointed. I thought you were going to throw Sutton under a bus there, David, but there we are. Lovely to have you on. Congratulations on the job you were doing. Thanks for the insight. Really appreciate it,
Cheers,
David.
Mark. No problem.
Cheers, Dave.
Good luck, guys. All the best.
Thank you. David Weir with us on the Monday Night Club. We'll talk about what David said in just a moment with Chris and Dion and Rory. But we're just going to go to the World Snooker, where has play been halted by a protester on the table, Jamie?
That's right, chappers. We've had two protesters. I believe they're from the Stop Oil protest group. Play had just got underway, and the two matches in progress. One was between Mark Allen, the other between the young Chinese player Fan Zhengji. It was the match between Robert Milkins and Joe Perry. The first round match was just getting underway. Somebody climbed over, then jumped on the table. They appeared to have a sachet of orange powder. They stood on the table. They emptied it out across the table, obviously stopping play. Another protester tried to get around the other side of the curtain. I think they were going to try and do something else. The referee, I think Olivier Martial and a few of the other people around there, officials, managed to stop that person. So that match where Mark Allen is going to play against Fan Zhengji, that table hasn't been affected. But as we speak at the moment, I can see some of the cleaners and the staff here at the Crucible.
I mean, I'm just watching a video of that. That was mid-frame as well, wasn't it?
That's right. They've obviously climbed over, but it's, a serious thing, isn't it? We were joking about a few years ago when play was stopped when a pigeon got in. This is obviously very serious, and obviously all the fans there are very close. It's not like there's security or barriers like at a football match, so anybody can stand over. But as I say, they're clearing up the mess on one of the tables at the moment, and we'll have to see if play can continue. We'd hope, obviously, if the table isn't too badly affected, they can continue.
I mean, I never thought I'd be asking you this question, Jamie, but so have they managed to hoover it all up?
They've hoovered about half of Bork so far, and then now they're doing the other section as well. I must admit, initially when I saw it, I did wonder if they'd chuck paint over it, but obviously they haven't, so we'll just have to see. But you just don't know if the cloth, if the cloth's been ruined, then they can't play, can they? So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But as I say, there are 3 or 4 people out there, and they're hooving. Even Rob Walker, I think he's out there helping as well. He's got a mask on. He's got a yellow hoover. Even he's involved now as well. So there's 4 people out there trying to clear up the mess.
And a final question, you may not know this, if that table is damaged, do they have a spare table?
Yeah, they can.
Somewhere?
Yeah, they can replace the table, and they can normally actually recloth it quite quickly. So there isn't any damage to the table. They can recloth it reasonably quickly, but it's still going to take a few hours to do that, I would imagine. But we just have to wait and see. But obviously, for all those people who are sat there, obviously very disappointed, aren't they? You've paid a lot of money to come here, and you're now watching people hoovering orange, whatever it is they've chucked on the table, being cleaned off.
Jamie, thank you very much. More from Jamie throughout the course of the evening. It's very difficult to ask questions, Chris, with you giggling at everyone I ask, whether it's about a hoover or a snooker table or whatever. I'm just trying to get the information out there.
And it's a serious thing, but I didn't know when Jamie said he's got a yellow hoover.
That one's worth 2 points.
It did tickle me.
Leeds against Liverpool kicks off at 8 o'clock. It's a Monday Night Club until 10 o'clock with Dion Dublin, Chris Sutton and Rory Smith. We've been talking to David Weir, the technical director at Brighton, for the last half hour or so. The way they work is, they must be doing something different. Do you not think, Rory?
I think they have better data than a lot of clubs, and I think they're very, very
better
cagey.
interpretation of data or better data.
I think they might have more detailed, raw data, and I think they've certainly got better. They've got a smarter way of reading it, and I think that is.
You think they have more people? You think they have more data, Rory? Did you say? Do you think they have?
Yeah, maybe more or more detailed. They're very cagey about it, as they should be. It's all proprietary. There's nothing weird about that. But I think they probably have. Maybe not so much they've got more numbers, but maybe different kind of. I don't want to say key performance indicators. Seriously, I'm going to make me sound like a management consultant, and I'm going to be really upset about it. But that basically, they'll be looking for different stuff, and I think they know much more clearly what they're looking for than most other teams do. Not everybody. Brentford are really smart. Liverpool obviously have been successful for a long time using that approach. Brighton, I think, are pretty much uniformly regarded as like the market leader. But from what David was saying, this sounds really kind of underwhelming almost, but they're just really sensible. They realise that you have to kind of have all of the different pieces in place complementing each other, and that then enables you to ride out difficulties in one. So yeah, if you present a coach who likes developing young players, a squad full of young players who want to be developed, you're going to be successful. And it's amazing how few clubs take that approach. And I think a lot of what Brighton do is, I don't want to sound like it's just common sense, so everyone should do it. It must be easy, because it's not. But I think the way they do it is they just have a really clear-eyed view.
I think they're patient
of how they want to work. Yeah, that's the other thing. They're patient and they're innovative.
But
you know, they're prepared to take a Paraguayan kid,
yeah,
and give him a year, 18 months to settle in. They can go and take Alexis McAllister, who I think in Argentina at the time wasn't even regarded as the best McAllister brother, and they see something in him and think we can develop that and nurture that, and he will fit in here and thrive, and they give him a chance. And it's amazing how rare that is in football, to wait, and it's a really precious thing.
But from a young player's perspective, I think what was interesting, and David mentioned it, that pathway, that that ability to know you're going to get a chance eventually. They work with a thin squad, and Ferguson coming through and Insizer at the weekend. I mean, phenomenal goal that he scored. But the fact of the matter is, if they were at what we would class as bigger clubs, they would probably see it as more difficult to get through. So, I mean, it works really well at Brighton. If you know you're going to get an opportunity, I mean, of course, you've got to work hard and prove yourself. But I think that's a big plus for Brighton.
I think, but you can see, can't you, why... No, Dion, you go. Do you know what, Dion? You let me go first, so you go first this time.
No, I think if you look at... I think you can take a lot from David's persona as well, very relaxed and no pressure, just answering the question at his own pace. I think if they're doing that when they're looking at the data and they're having just nice, steady, calm conversations about who they want to bring in, having looked at the data, they just seem to be sensible people, not rushing into something too soon, and making the decision at the right time that suits the football club and the player itself. I think they just seem to be really knowledgeable.
But isn't it? I was reading an article today, Chris, on Kvaratskhelia, who's at Napoli, and when he was at Rubin Kazan, he was managed by Leonid Slutsky, and there's a sort of this feeling that Kvaratskhelia has come from nowhere to be this sensational player at Napoli, but as Slutsky said, he was doing well for Rubin Kazan before his contract had to be torn up because of everything that's gone on with Russia. But he said that they very much have a theory, or he has a theory. A good player can become a bad player if they go to a bad club, and a bad player can become a good player if they go to a good club. So if everything is in place as it is at Brighton, and they do things the right way, and they put 50-page scouting reports together, and they are patient, and they do have a loan system that, if that helps players to acclimatise, then even a mediocre player might have a chance with Brighton because of the support network that they offer.
Yeah, I mean, I take your point, with regards to what you're saying. I mean, it's important from Brighton's point of view that they have built up that reputation, though, and that they have become really trustworthy. So if you're a young aspiring player, we use Julio and Ciso, as an example of that, and you had the opportunity to come across to England. And, you know, especially with De Zerbi, I mean, Brighton aren't going to keep hold of De Zerbi. That's a massive problem for them. I think, how do you actually replace him? But, I mean, there aren't many more attractive clubs to go to in the Premier League at this moment in time, just because of simply the way that Brighton play. I mean, at the weekend, they tore Chelsea to absolute shreds. If you're a young player thinking, blimey, seen Ferguson get the opportunity, you know, and Ciso get the opportunity, young players get the opportunity at that particular club, then that's an attractive proposition.
But what David said that is fascinating is the fact that as they get higher up through the league, they are obviously shopping in a smaller market, and they can probably take fewer risks. Not only can you take fewer risks, but the players you're looking at are probably more expensive, so each risk is kind of exponentially greater. And you do wonder whether that's the point that clubs tend to fall down on. So if you think about,
but they haven't changed, though, Rory, have they, Brighton, in terms of the market which they're, you know, working in? I mean, they are essentially buying development players, aren't they?
Yeah, but I wonder if there's a point at which you think, okay, to ensconce ourselves in the Europa League places, say, to be relatively kind of modest about it, do we need to go and sign a player who's, instead of 19, Buonanotte, the kid they took from Argentina, I think they signed when he was 18. You know, instead of taking the 18-year-old Argentinian kid, do we need to run at the 20-year-old who might come into the team a bit quicker? Do we need to have a little bit more urgency about our process? And I think that's a point that a lot of teams really struggle with. And, you know, if you think back to sort of Charlton, was it when Charlton sacked Kirbishley because they wanted to finish higher in the table than 7th? And it was sort of presented as, well, you shouldn't have got rid of it. It was this guy that you knew, and he was doing a great job, and you shouldn't have have sacked him. It was terrible hubris to do that. But that is a club saying, we've reached this point, and we've reached it consistently. We need to take the next step. We need to get to the next level. But what David said, and I think it's probably beyond kind of true, is doing that is a real challenge, because you are suddenly taking away all the things that have made you successful and saying we have to change them slightly to kind of keep on growing.
Why do
Because
they?
I guess there is a natural... I mean, a lot of people blame the fans and say the fans will push for more, and that's what happened with Charlton. But I wonder if it's just a natural competitive instinct that if you finish 7th one year, you want to finish 6th the next, don't you?
But the process is evolving. So
the process evolves, and the process itself remains the same. But the players you're looking at probably change slightly. Brighton will not be able, I guess, to take quite the risks this summer that they might have done when they were finishing 14th in the Premier League, because the standard of player that you're trying to replace is higher. And that's hard. I think that's a real challenge for a club, and it'll be really interesting to see Brighton, who I think are as smart as any club as we've seen in the Premier League, see how they manage that.
you must have hoped he was going to say that they did have a scouting network in Paraguay, because if ever a story was made for you, a Brighton scouting network in Paraguay is right up your alley. I
think this is a risk. I've not Googled this before, and I think Insider was playing in Argentina. I think a lot of Paraguayan kids start out their careers in Argentina. But I know, for example, when they signed Caicedo from Ecuador,
he was at Libertad.
Was he in Libertad in Paraguay? I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Well, they signed Caicedo in Ecuador. It is disappointing. But when they signed Caicedo, they did it through. The problem with that deal, because everyone looked at Caicedo, I think he'd been in one of the South American Youth Championships, and it was obvious he was talented. No one could work out who the agent was, because in Ecuador there were 4 or 5 different people claiming to represent Caicedo. And it was Dan Ashworth then who had sufficient of a network of agents and scouts and people he trusted in Ecuador to cut through the noise and work out where he needed to go to have the conversations. And I think that sort of knowledge is crucial as well, that they won't have a person in Paraguay, but there will be people they know in Paraguay who can help.
Let's move on to talk about the
Can I just say something quickly to Rory, just from a journalistic viewpoint? You know, when you start a question and you say, I don't want to be negative, I don't think that's a particularly good start.
Okay. Thank you for your feedback.
MNC at bbc.co.uk. If you want to drop us an email, 85058 or at 5livesport, text or social media. Leeds Liverpool gets underway. It's 8 o'clock. We've got Conor McNamara and Paul Robinson there for us. Let's talk about the title race. Arsenal, for the second game in succession, go 2-0 up to only take a point They are only, I mean, this is a spurious stat if ever there was one, they're only the 5th team in Premier League history to relinquish a 2-0 lead in back-to-back games, whatever that means. Mikel Arteta had some very interesting things to say post-match. Here he is.
We made a huge mistake, which not to play to score the third and the fourth, and just to start keeping the ball and start to give sloppy balls away, allow them transition moments, don't dominate the direct play, and then it's game on. In this league, you are in big trouble.
Martin Odegaard said that you gave them hope when they were dead. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, and it's the story of the game. The penalty, of course, is a game changer in that moment, because 2 minutes later you concede a goal. But how we have to behave after 2-0 is very different to what we have to do. And on top of that, we conceded 2 very sloppy goals.
Do you think Arsenal were almost too comfortable at 2-0 up at the start of the game?
I think so. I think we felt that too comfortable. We can just play around them, and when a team is there, you have to take that opportunity and give them hope, and then credit to West Ham, because they realized that there was something to take there, and they grabbed it with both hands. They were really aggressive, they were really direct, and they caused us problems.
How do you reflect on this week? You've been 2-0 up twice, you could have had 6 points, you have 2 points instead. What are you taking from that?
2 very different games, I think, but at the end you want to find similarities there, but it is different, I think, what happened the other day and today.
This title race is going to the wire, isn't it?
It's really difficult to win in this league. Every single game, you see every result. You see yesterday in the games actually what happens regardless of the results. It is really tricky. You really have to be at your best. All those teams are fighting for big things as well, and you have to really earn it.
Mikel Arteta with Nick Godwin. Too comfortable, Dion. I mean, that would actually imply that the 2-0 leads that they relinquished are very different, the one at Liverpool and the one at West Ham.
Yeah.
But too comfortable, does that make sense to you?
No, not really, because too comfortable means that they've gone about their business in the right way, and he's set them out right, and they've done everything that he's asked them to do. And if they are to do that consistently, they would have gone. So they obviously taken their foot off the gas from what the manager was asking them. Being comfortable means that you're doing everything the correct way, chappers. You're playing the game how you should do. You're making it feel comfortable, because when all your players are on song against the team you're playing against, it should be easier for you, because you're better players and a better team if you go about it the right way.
It is, especially this season, a matter of consistency, I will say, because we are...
to make it comfortable. That's basically what it is.
Chris?
I'd slightly disagree with that, Dion. I took too comfortable. If I was one of the Arsenal players, I would have thought that the manager, and I thought he was wrong to say what he said, was slightly questioning the commitment and intensity of the team. You know, found it too easy, let West Ham back into the game. I didn't understand a lot of things he said. I think the message which he sent was fine within the dressing room, but I think outside of the dressing room, I think it's a bit of a problem. That's not the message he should be relaying back about his players. It's not a message, in my opinion, he should be relaying to the Arsenal support. And when he talked about 2 very different games, West Ham and Liverpool, I totally disagree with that, because, you know, both games they let the 2-goal lead slip. More importantly, they lost control. And, you know, you can say, well, West Ham aren't at Liverpool's level. But I thought second half, you know, yesterday, I thought that they were very similar in terms of the way they played at Liverpool. And there was a fear factor. What has worked for Arsenal this season is the courage that they have shown on the ball. And they've been really brave in the way that they played. Saka missed a penalty, so, you know, that happened. But they weren't creating the chances. West Ham, who have had a pretty torrid season, I thought towards the end of the game, looked the more likely team to go on and win it. So, you know, I always go back to Sir Alex Ferguson and, you know, great experience which he had and would have learned from, you know, when he was a young manager. But Sir Alex Ferguson, at this moment in time in the season, would have been blaming officials, would have been blaming the weather, would have been blaming everything else other than his team. I just thought that was, don't want to say a sort of rookie mistake, because I think he's been a revelation this season, Arteta. But It's just that doubt element now where he seems to be doubting his players a little bit, and I don't think he should have said that.
I'll tell you what sums up the comfortable side of what he's saying. He said Thomas Partey gave the ball away to Declan Rice. Thomas Partey, if it was 0-0, wouldn't have done that. They changed the way they played because it got too comfortable for them. That's how I see it, Chris, because Thomas Partey's not going to try and flick it over Declan Rice if they are 0-0 away from home. He's not going to do that. 72% possession, Arsenal, away from home. That's just incredible. And if you are playing as well as you can and you go 2 up, you shouldn't change what's got you to being 2 up. And they did. That's why they didn't continue to score more goals.
Even if the opposition, Dion, slightly changed their approach, because there is no doubt that in the second half, they were more on the front foot with West Ham. They were more aggressive when they were closing down in the press. And also, Jared Bowen, it felt like, stayed a bit wider and a bit higher. And all of a sudden, Tierney wasn't able to slot into a central midfield role as much. He had to stay more as a left-back. You know, Jacques had to come and help him a little bit more. So, and they did change their approach. They did go a bit longer.
Chappers, when you're going at half-time, right, and you've had an absolute stinker, you've got the manager's voice ringing in your ears. As soon as you leave the dressing room, down the tunnel, on the pitch, you are listening to everything he said to you. If you've had a stinker in the first half, and you know you have as a team and as an individual, you're taking what the manager's asked you to do to the letter. Otherwise, you're not going to play the next game, and that's the thing you worry about. I'm going to lose my space if I don't do this. That's why they came out flying. They had a stinking first half, came out flying in the second half. Simple as that. The manager's had a go at them. He's gone down their throat and said, listen, not good enough, basically. And they've come out, and Arsenal have been surprised by it.
Rory?
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. I don't know, I find it very hard to get too worked up at Arsenal to blame them for West Ham's improved performance. I don't actually think that's fair. I think West Ham are entitled to, as Dion says, trying to come out in the second half fired up, determined not to be humiliated, and we shouldn't forget, very much at risk of relegation. So I guess that is the test of this part of the season, is that games that...
And a magnificent menu of mouth-watering footy food. Result! Enjoy the perfect big match experience with food, drink and live football at a Village Hotel pub and grill fan zone at 33 UK locations. Find your nearest venue and win monthly prizes, including match tickets at villagehotels.com/fanzone.
Seems fair enough. There is a difference in when you get games over the course of the season. Certain teams are much more urgent.
You can't prove that.
Probably can't prove it, no, but I think it's... I mean, I find it would... I mean, it's obviously true, isn't it, to anyone who's ever watched football, that certain teams, when they're at risk of relegation, do suddenly become a much more daunting prospect for anybody. That's what...
You know what,
Get in! Conditions apply.
Look at Nottingham Forest.
Having been in this situation myself, when Villa were playing at home against Arsenal, we went in 2-0 down, and we were absolutely getting hammered. Bergkamp, Wright, they were just passing round us. We had no idea what was going on. Villa Park was angry, and we were embarrassed. And we went in at half-time, and Chris will back me up here to a certain degree, because you go in embarrassed, and the players, my players at that time, took charge of that situation. I think John Gregory was the manager at the time, and the players went in embarrassed, and there were so many potential fights within that dressing room because we went in angry with ourselves, embarrassed with ourselves. A lot of that may have happened as well for West Ham at the weekend.
Yeah, I agree with what Dion says to some extent, and West Ham probably, that was one of their best hours of the season, after 30 minutes. But from Arsenal's point of view, it's about their process. It's about what has made them successful this season. And I think most games I've seen Arsenal play, they have dominated virtually every game this season. They didn't against Manchester City, but they have, showed great courage in terms of showing for the ball.
Yeah, but Chris, it's the second half. It's the second half, Chris.
But implementing.
It's the second half, Chris, that might make them unsuccessful.
Yes, no, and I accept that. But, you know, the fact of the matter is you know, they have been implementing the way that they play, with Zinchenko going into midfield, overloads in there, and playing out from the back. And towards the end of the game, it
no
was
time to think about if it's better or worse to play now against this team or other. We have to play, give our best, and try to get the points are in play.
So there we go. Everyone looking forward to the big kick-off here at Ellen Road. The players are in the tunnel. A big night under the lights here at Ellen Road. Kick-off comes next between Leeds United and Liverpool. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Global events.
The priority now is collecting the evidence.
Breaking news.
Every line.
The fundamental issues.
Keeping you informed.
And that is the fact that they have been brave on the ball, and players are showing. I think that, you know, at both games, Liverpool, West Ham, there's been a little bit of a fear, and we can say, well, Liverpool at Anfield, yeah, we get that when they get a bit of momentum, and the same for West Ham yesterday. So I think it is a bit of both, but Arteta will be enforcing on his players. We have to play the way which has made us successful and carry on doing that.
Is it okay, Chris, if they don't win the title?
I know what you.
They shouldn't be hammered if they don't win the title. They haven't blown it or thrown it away.
But we nearly threw it away at Blackburn, didn't we? 9 points clear, 6 games to go, something like that. What I do know is what happened at Liverpool. I don't know how we all view. I don't know how I felt after the game against Liverpool, whether that was a good point or a bad point. The fact that they'd let a 2-goal lead slip. I think if you're a player, you know, Dion, you let the 2-goal lead slip, that would feel like a bit of a defeat. We know Ramsdale made big saves at the end, and at the end of the season, everybody was quite rightly saying, well, that may be a good point. But then to go and do the same thing at West Ham, we've got a lot of young players, Arsenal. I've got no doubt that you know, they'll be thinking about Manchester City and knowing the juggernaut they have been in previous seasons, and that Arsenal are thinking we need to be pretty flawless to actually win this league. I think the doubt would have kicked in at West Ham, and I think that could be a problem for them. But in terms of, is it a good season for them, Mark, overall, if they finish second? I think it is. But if you're if you're an Arsenal player, if you're Arteta the manager, you're thinking, what an opportunity we've let slip.
Adam Crafton made this point on social media, Rory. Though it's still a team well on course for a 90-plus season, whatever is made of Arsenal's mentality. He said, so to him, it just says much more about the brutal order that Manchester City's blend of resources, coaching and recruitment have created.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever happens from this point on, Arsenal have had a great season. They will be accused of bottling it. There will be long conversations, massive, you know, whole rainforests will be felled to describe how Arsenal have bottled it by having just a sheer nerve to draw 2-2 at West Ham. It's disgraceful, really, that, you know, you might draw a game away from home. But ultimately, they will probably end up with more than 90 points. There was a point of the season where they were on course to get 102.
Yeah, but you don't
They've had an incredible season.
You don't play a season for points.
No,
while what you're saying, you know, it is a good season, but it's the opportunity which has been there. And I agree with you about, you know, what you're saying about bottling it. You know, there's still a long way to go. They could go to Manchester City and get the result. I mean, I wouldn't totally rule
Times Radio.
That's not impossible. But it's the fact. It's the fact that players.
Isn't the whole point? Hang on. Isn't the whole point of how our football works that it's played for points?
Yeah, that is. I mean, that might explain a lot about.
Yeah, but you don't.
Surely,
well, hang.
You play for points, don't you?
Well, I know you play for points.
Rob Woods.
Oh, it does make me a little bit.
Ali McCoy.
2 points. We've had a good season. The barometer is
40 points to stay up.
The barometer.
For a player, points isn't the target. Forget let's try and get 97. Let's try and break the record. We're not interested in that.
This isn't pub football.
Where I think Chris is right.
Parkstraup and Firpo the back four. McKennie and Rocker in front. Harrison, Aronson and Sinistera all.
Alcuni
Liverpool, you started a famous comeback, didn't you, when you netted for QPR?
I did. My first goal for 7 years. I wouldn't say I was prolific in front of goal, but it was a big goal. Yeah, loved it.
Got the win that day. Question is, who's going to get the win here tonight? What's your prediction for this one?
Well, I mentioned earlier on this team, Leeds United, playing at home, brilliant under the lights at Ellen Road. Of course, the atmosphere's just electric, and it will be tonight. They've got to go and beat one of the big teams. And if you're going to come up against the Liverpool, you want to get them in this form, because this is a great opportunity for Leeds United.
Both sides in their traditional home colours for this one. It will be Leeds to get us underway here in what is a great atmosphere. We're off and running the final game of the Premier League weekend. Leeds taking on Liverpool. And we are about to see whether Leeds can get themselves an all-important victory to take them well away from danger at the bottom. They're 2 points clear at the moment. It would take them 5 clear of the drop, which would be by no means putting them safe, but would be a big step towards safety. In terms of the points tally at the moment, 27 is the line for relegation. What do you think teams need to get to?
I think because of the form of the bottom 4 or 5, and it's not great for obvious reasons. 35.
So you're saying your old side Palace are safe?
Yeah, I do. I think Palace are safe. This last 3 wins that Roy Hodgson's been able to administer has been massive for the football club.
Wolves, of course, getting themselves a win against Brentford this weekend takes them to 34. They and probably Bournemouth and even maybe West Ham are probably a win away from getting themselves the right side of the line permanently this season. Liverpool coming forward down the right-hand side here with Henderson. Winless in their last 5 games. They've drawn their last 2 against Arsenal and Chelsea. But it's not the kind of run that Jurgen Klopp is used to.
No, it's not. But last week's game against Arsenal, I thought the second half performance by Liverpool was everything that you would expect to see from this Liverpool team. It's been disappointing for Jurgen Klopp, and he's been frustrated, really has. I think there's a theme running through this Liverpool team. 2 or 3 big players are going to be leaving this football club in the summer. A transitional period. You don't really want to speak about transitional periods for Liverpool, but unfortunately that's where this team are.
Well, one of those is going to be Roberto Firmino, isn't it? From your point of view as a coach, do you play someone who's going to be off in the summer? You talk about earlier him being their best forward, being on the bench. Do you kind of see that way of thinking, or do you?
I do. I'm really surprised that he didn't start tonight's game. When he came on last week, it not only gives his teammates a big lift and they trust him in possession, he gives the fans a huge lift. They're gutted that he's leaving this football club. He's been absolutely brilliant for them, and I still think at this moment in time he's their best number 9.
Remember, you can tweet us tonight. Let us know how you think this game's going to go at TalkSport Live on Twitter. Tell us where you're listening from as well. It's good to have our listeners with us right the way across the world. Here's Diogo Jota for Liverpool. On towards Cody Gakpo, but nipping in there for Leeds. It's the defender Pascal Struijk, and it's away on the left-hand side now, but Rodrigo can't put his foot on it. And Liverpool have it back now with Salah. Back to Canale at the back, who again partners Virgil van Dijk at the back. Salah. Back to Alexander-Arnold. Stepping into midfield here. He has it on the halfway line. Plays it square here to Van Dijk. Robertson. Forward into Fabinho. Liverpool dominating possession in the early stages. Leeds know that their moment will come against what has been a shaky Liverpool side, especially on the road this season. Taken just 13 points away from Anfield this season. The ball has gone all the way through here to Meslier, who picks it up for Leeds. They're here at home, have won 5, drawn 5 and lost 5 of their 15 so far. I think it's going to be here at home, especially with the game against Leicester to come in a couple of weeks, where they're going to sort themselves out if they are.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we was watching the game last week when they lost at home against Crystal Palace. They were brilliant in the first half, probably, and should have been 2 or 3 goals into the into half time. They didn't. They was a little bit sloppy in the final third and then crumbled in the second half. But it's this Ellen Road is a magnificent place to play. But what they do is they throw their expectations on the players, and sometimes it can become too much for some of the players.
Here's Jones, edge of the Leeds penalty area, can't bring the ball under his control. It's played away now by Weston McKennie, but given away by the American. Gakpo can't control. Well, he started at the World Cup, didn't he? But what have you made of his Premier League career so far?
It's harsh, isn't it? You know, we're talking about Premier League players, and you know, young Premier League players still need to find the feet. At times, he's shown exactly what we saw at the World Cup. And I go back to Roberto Firmino. I just think that at this moment in time, he would help somebody like Gakpo, because it would allow Gakpo to show his number, run in behind, and be that threat down the side of centre halves. When he's playing that number 9, he needs to be in position more than perhaps he wants to be. He's the runner, isn't he? You know, he's one who's got immense press. He's got a great amount of pace as well. And I'm not sure we're seeing him at his best.
We've played 5 minutes. It's Leeds 0, Liverpool 0. Leeds have completed 9 passes so far. Liverpool have got all the ball. Alexander-Arnold to the right-hand side to Salah. And despite scoring 13 times this season, he's probably way off where he'd like to be. Do you think that's a reflection of him, or maybe the team that's playing around him?
I think he has to take responsibility for, you know, his performances as well. You know, the 2 standout misses of the penalties. You know, the penalty misses that he's had in recent weeks have not been like him, have they?
Rodrigo wins a free kick here for Leeds in the left channel. And the first chance for them to load the ball into the penalty area with any kind of threat. Of course, they started so well here against Crystal Palace last Sunday. Patrick Bamford putting them ahead inside the first quarter, but Mark Gehi equalising on the stroke of half-time, and it was a Palace turnaround after that. We'll be hoping they can get ahead and stay ahead here tonight. Harrison standing over the ball, Aronson as well. On the left-hand side, 5-10 yards in off the touchline. Christensen has gone for big aerial threat for a right back. Strauk up there as well. Koch in the mix. Liverpool with a long line of red shirts across the edge of the penalty area. Harrison delivers, left-footed. Rodrigo free header, and he should have done better with it as well. Easily grabbed in the end by the goalkeeper Alisson, but totally unmarked as he ghosted in behind.
Well, it was a wonderful free kick, wasn't it, by Jack Harrison? The deliveries against Crystal Palace were exceptional in the first half. Obviously, Patrick Bamford scoring their goal from a set play, and that was a brilliant run there by Rodrigo. It really was. Terrible defending by Liverpool. You're right, they had 7 red shirts there. And I think when you've got the 7 red shirts as tight as they are, you've got to block them white shirts running in between. But they were very passive, Liverpool, there. And that's the problem that they've shown this season, that you can exploit this defensive unit of Liverpool.
Since VAR's come in, you know, you've coached at a Premier League club extremely recently. Has that changed how you've had to coach them to defend set plays?
Yes, because you need to be absolutely certain that you're doing your jobs, because now it's so clinical with the VAR. So we used to speak about that a lot at Crystal Palace, is when you are defending as clinical as we've just seen in that situation then, you've got to make sure that you go with your runners. And if you don't go with runners, you block them. But they were so passive there, Liverpool, though. And they've conceded a lot of goals like that this year.
But in the sense of, you know, in times gone by when you'd be coaching set plays and someone's specific job would be to block someone so that someone had a free run, presumably you just can't really do that, can't you? Or you have to be extremely subtle about it.
Absolutely, yeah, you do. And which you'll see a lot more now. The defensive unit drop into the box a lot earlier than perhaps what you've seen in prior to the VAR.
Christensen here will take a throw for Leeds. Goalless so far. I've had a tweet in from Kinsolo who says, just hope Liverpool win tonight. Listening from Kasoa, I hope that's pronounced right, in Ghana. Good to have you with us. So far, no major chances for Liverpool. Rodrigo with that header for Leeds, who are seeing a bit more of the ball now. Harrison trying to help it forward, headed away by Canale. Henderson in midfield trying to slot one in between 2 of the Leeds defenders, but it was well cut out. Christensen away, held on by Aronson, who's barged in the back by Van Dijk, and Leeds suddenly coming forward with numbers. Rodrigo trying to get on the ball, but Robertson plays it back to Alisson, who puts it into Diogo Jota's path on the left-hand side. The Portuguese, though, giving it away. A square ball which is easily picked up. Rodrigo into the area, driving one, but didn't catch it cleanly and pulls it wide of goal. But after a slow start for Leeds, they're finding their feet. Yeah,
they've started well, Leeds. We know that Trent Alexander-Arnold wants to come and play into that second defensive midfield zone. Leeds have had a lot of joy down his side, of course. We're going to see that throughout the night. But I just made the point about Roberto Firmino, because that type of player's not on the pitch. It's very difficult for Liverpool to gain control in central areas. We've just seen then, Gakpo shows his number, wants to run in behind. But when you play in this certain way, you've got to be very precise with the balls, and the runs have got to be exceptional. I just think when Firmino plays, they have a lot more control of the pitch.
They come forward here with Salah. Out to the left-hand side into Diogo Jota. He's looking for his first goal tonight in a year. Junior Firpo here with the ball away. Canate with a loose piece of control on halfway, but it skips off his shin and goes back to Alisson. Alexander-Arnold on the halfway line, a man who's come under plenty of scrutiny in the last few weeks, particularly from some of the big pundits in this country. Likewise, Virgil van Dijk, who's been labelled as being nowhere near his previous best at the moment. Some fairly static defending in recent weeks, especially from set plays.
I think all of them can have that label, can't they? You know, these Liverpool players have shown the levels that they're capable of.
Is that motivation for a group that's won everything?
Yeah, they've set such high standards, haven't they? You know, Van Dijk's been absolutely exceptional up until this season. You know, the injury has been difficult for any player to come out, you know, to recover from an ACL. And we've always known that Trent Alexander-Arnold's main quality is not defending. But prior to this season, he had a little bit more support in front of him. And that's been missing from Liverpool's play.
Robertson. Back here to Curtis Jones, the product of the Liverpool Academy. Fabinho. Just inside the Leeds half. Alexander-Arnold. Salah dropping in to link the play. On the right-hand side is Henderson. Canate. Van Dijk. To the right-hand side to Salah. Tucks it back one here to Alexander-Arnold, who had to readjust but gets a boot on it to send it to Canate. More Liverpool possession. It's all in front of Leeds at the moment. Robertson on the left wing. Faced by Harrison. Goes back towards the halfway line and Van Dijk. Forward now to Fabinho. Tries to pop one over the top looking for the run of Henderson, and eventually it was hooked away there by Roca. But Canate coming forward. A few keepy-ups. Eventually takes it down to Diogo Jota. Tries to help it on towards Robertson, but it's cut out, and Leeds will try and counter here with Harrison. Ball was slightly caught beneath his foot there, so had to readjust, but in the end he's lost it. Fabinho. Henderson. Salah relatively free on the right, but it's going to go left instead. Jones on to Robertson. Liverpool have had nearly 80% possession so far. Got a tweet in from Nigel Anderton, who's driving back to Oklahoma City, listening to the game, and can't see any other result than a draw in this one. Liverpool pressing again. Henderson in the right channel. He'll try and hook a ball across goal, but he carried it out of play first. And it will be a goal kick here to Leeds, and Henderson just giving the assistant a bit of jip on that side. And it's a goal kick here to Leeds, who know they're going to soak up a lot of pressure tonight, and they're going to have to.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're playing against a team like Liverpool, they are a possession team, aren't they? But what you've got to be careful is that you don't lose the fact that they want to exploit you behind. They've got runners. Salah wants to run in behind. Jota wants to run in behind. So does Gakpo. But Leeds are holding a real deep defensive line, which I think's suiting Leeds tonight. They can't go and press too high too early, because they can't expose that weakness that sometimes Leeds have shown, that they're quite fragile behind the back four. But again, when they do get the ball, can they be bright? Can they be purposeful and be a little bit more dynamic than what they're showing at the minute? The passes are a little bit sloppy when they do get possession. They're handing over possession very early. Maybe they just need to have 3 or 4 passes just to get a little bit of control on the game.
Robertson on the halfway line, out to the left-hand side here into Jones. Checks back, tries to play one inside, but it's cut out. On by McKennie. Roca crowds it out in midfield. Liverpool quick to harass him and win the ball back off it. Fabinho. Back to Canate. To Alexander-Arnold, who's again pushing into midfield, just so some of those Liverpool midfielders themselves can push further forward and get more players into attacking areas. Diogo Jota. Back to Robertson. Will Leeds be happy enough with this at the moment? Because But they're not seeing too much of the ball, but Liverpool aren't really being able to penetrate with it.
Well, the goalkeeper, Ilian Melié's not had anything to do as yet, which is good.
He might in a minute, though, because Salah away down the right-hand side, up against Firpo. Salah lays it back one. Henderson with the cross. Header in on goal by Gakpo. Diogo Jota at the far post. The ball had gone out of play. It's a Leeds goal kick. Maybe just a first sign that they've just got that dynamism in wide areas to cause problems.
Well, it was the first time that we saw this Leeds back line probably 10 or 15 yards advanced to where they have been for the first 15 minutes. We know that Henderson likes to put the ball in when it gets played back to him in them areas. And again, probably Gakpo just in there slightly too early. But it's the first time we've seen Liverpool actually penetrate Leeds behind.
15 gone, 0-0. Leeds on the attack here. Luis Sinisterra has done enough to force Canate to put this ball out of play. It's a Leeds throw midway inside the Liverpool half. Real low centre of gravity, direct runner, Luis Sinisterra.
Yeah, they've changed him actually. They've just changed Jack Harrison and Sinisterra. Changed it after 5 or 6 minutes. Jack Harrison was starting on the left. He's come onto the right, and Sinisterra probably fancies himself up against Alexander-Arnold.
Throw here for Leeds. Over on the left-hand side. A real tight stadium here at Ellen Road, and one of those where so many of the fans are permanently on their feet. McKennie trying to bully his way through here, but running into Liverpool players. They eventually emerge with it down the left, and behind it goes up Alexander-Arnold, and Leeds have the game's first corner.
And look what it means to these fans. This is exactly where Leeds want to be, in set play areas. Mentioned them being a strength in the game against Crystal Palace in the first half. Just had a chance earlier on with the Rodrigo header. Good delivery required here.
So, corner from the Leeds left here, in front of the south stand at Ellen Road. Aronson swings it really high towards Rodrigo. Can't win the header. Van Dijk got something on it. And as it dropped for the second ball, Liverpool got there as well. In the end, Alexander-Arnold knocks it out off Sinisterra. It's a throw to Liverpool right by their own corner flag on the left-hand side.
Well, like a floaty set play, wasn't it? Against Van Dijk as well. I mean, it's not the kind of delivery that you would be exposing him. He's 6'5", he's brilliant in the air. Looking for more like a whips corner, really.
What was it like to be a Leeds player in terms of day-to-day around the city? Did you live in the city? I don't know.
Yeah, lived just outside in a place called Harrogate. Lovely place to live. Everywhere you go, a one-club city, a wonderful place to play, and brilliant 3 years of our life. I hold the club so fondly. It's a magnificent football club. Fans are right behind you all the time, and they let you know as well.
Yeah.
If you're not putting in the performances.
I think the one thing they've got to try and do is try and expand the stadium, because there's such demand to be there now. They're back in the big time after, nearly 20 years away.
Absolutely. I mean, being out of the Premier League, and I played for Leeds United in the Championship, so I know exactly how frustrating that was for all the football club. But now to be in the Premier League and, to getting players from good players coming into this football club, they've got to stay in the league this year. It's been a difficult year for them. But it's been a difficult time for them since they've said goodbye to Marcelo Bielsa.
Jesse Marsh, the latest to go towards the end of February. That's when Javi Gracie came in to replace the American, who could well have still been in the relegation scrap with Leicester had he not turned that job down there, reportedly. Van Dijk to Konate. I'm not sure he was expecting that ball. I think he thought Alexander-Arnold was going to put his foot on it. And Van Dijk just trying to tell his teammates to get on the same wavelength as him there. Jones on the left-hand side. Gakpo ahead of him. He thought he might be offside there, Gakpo. Flag has stayed down against the Dutchman. Robertson. Van Dijk. Alexander-Arnold in the middle. Looking to the right-hand side into Salah. Henderson again, the man ahead of him. Salah back here to Alexander-Arnold. Diogo Jota. Alexander-Arnold again. Back to Konate on the halfway line. Again, Liverpool waiting for that chance. Fabinho trying to play it forward, but it was cut out, and Harrison trying to counter. Manu's numbers have improved greatly since Grazie took over. 3 goals and 2 assists for him in 7 games under Grazie. only contributed to 5 goals in the previous 21 matches this season under Jesse Marsh. The man who's signing on here as well at Leeds. To extend his stay at Ellen Road. Robertson. Inside to Van Dijk. Alexander-Arnold. Is it helping Liverpool here by having that extra man pushing to midfield and Alexander-Arnold in possession? Because it's just so clustered in that middle area, isn't it?
Well, we've seen, haven't we, Manchester City adopt this kind of strategy with the way that they play with their fullbacks as well. Arsenal do it with Zinchenko as well. And I think if you're Jurgen Klopp and you want to maximise your fullback, you've got to put him in that position, because Trent Alexander-Arnold needs to be in possession. But on the flip side of it, they do look fragile, don't they, in the back four? You know, when he goes into that position, if Leeds can be a little bit more purposeful with their passing and expose Trent Alexander-Arnold, they've not done that this 20 minutes. It's a gamble. It really is a gamble when you do that, because this game for me is crying out for width, and we've not seen it. We've not seen Salah in possession at all, have we?
Here comes Harrison down the right-hand side for Leeds. Into Aronson, edge of the area. Harrison's still there with him, but Aronson goes back out one to Christensen. Right corner of the penalty area. Everyone wants this ball to be crossed in. It was in the end, but it was screened a bit too much and it was floated too high. Alisson came to collect. Alexander-Arnold then with a long pinpoint ball into the right channel, but asking a lot there of Mo Salah. 30 years old now. Leeds have it with Firpo on the left. Up the line and cut out by Henderson. It's a throw to Leeds just short of the halfway line. We've played 21 minutes, 0-0.
I'd say the game's been, I'm going to use the expression scrappy. It's been a scrappy game. Lack of quality in the final third. Liverpool, of course, have controlled the possession, but probably in an area where Leeds are quite happy to let them have the ball in front of the back four, in front of the midfield four as well. Want to see the wide players maybe getting the ball a little bit earlier from both teams. You know, this is a game that's crying out for wingers, and it's very narrow and a lot of bodies in the centre of the pitch.
Aronson plays it on the left hand side and Sinistera could be in. Konate trying to get back. Sinistera! Angle was tight, went for it on his left, and behind it goes for a goal kick. But Konate on that side, is that someone they want to try and get at here?
Yeah, you look at Konate, you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's not gone with the runner, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Van Dijk's played Sinistera on. His first touch took him too wide, didn't it? Konate was quite happy with that. Recovered brilliantly, Konate did there. Massive amount of pace and power.
Van Dijk to Robertson. Van Dijk stepping forward. Konate. So you think both sides should be stretching the pitch a bit more?
Yeah, especially from Leeds' perspective. If they can get the ball, and, you know, Firpo wants to be on the front foot. He likes to go and join in the attack, especially when it goes down Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're just in an example then. He doesn't want to go with runners. He doesn't like defending.
I've seen it with Guardiola in the past, where he's wanted to stretch play, and so he hasn't played inverted wingers. He's played them on their natural side, which you don't really see too often now. It almost looks a bit weird to see players playing in that way. But as you say, Sinistera was on the right and Harrison to the left at the start of this game, but that has switched already. Halfway through this first half, Leeds really with the only major chance so far. Rodrigo's header, easily saved by Alisson. Nellier, who does take a risk or two with a long ball out here, the France under-21 international. Konate wins a header against Aronson. Fabinho. Jones. Harrison has it back now for Leeds, but delayed his release, and there was one back by Jones. Gakpo trying to slide it through here to Salah, and he was very close to doing so. Cut out by Liverpool come again, and the Leeds fans getting frustrated that their side aren't seeing the ball and aren't really quick enough to pick it up when it's loose. Give and go here. Gakpo inside the area, could have gone down. He'll play it across. High ball. Robertson slipped. Jota was nowhere. But Leeds fortunate they didn't concede a penalty. Any more meaningful contact there on Gakpo, and the referee, who tonight is Craig Pawson, could well have pointed to the spot. Leeds trying to break out here with Sinistera. Henderson trying to stay with him. Sinisterra on halfway. Plays a short ball square. McKennie gets there first, but hits it straight into Fabinho. Claims of handball, but it was off the top of his arm. Robertson forward now to Gakpo. The game coming into life here at Ellen Road. Down the right-hand side is Salah. Edge of the penalty area. Mo Salah skips inside. Can't quite hold on to it. Jones inside the box now. On the right it's Gakpo. Into Diogo Jota, who has a go. Great block in front of him there by Koch. But again, Liverpool have it. Jones trying to play it on. Has it on the edge of the D. Onto his right foot. To the right-hand side to Henderson. Jordan Henderson plays it back now to Alexander-Arnold. Liverpool keep coming and the Leeds fans want their side to press. They're sitting off here. Down the line now to Jones. Inside the area. Back out now to the right-hand side. Whipped in by Henderson. Salah's header. Leeds clear. Back out to Fabinho on the edge of the D. Leeds eventually get the ball away. But it keeps on coming, Sean Derrick.
Unbelievable 2 or 3 minutes there by Liverpool. Leeds United are so passive defending, aren't they? I mean, you can get close to the opposition, but these Leeds players are 2-3 yards. You leave any player unattended like that and they're going to punish you. They're very lucky, Leeds, that there was a lack of quality in the final third by Liverpool. Cody Gakpo had 2 or 3 opportunities just to lift his head, pick out a pass, and a little bit of composure in the final third. Leeds are taking a massive gamble here at this moment in time. They don't look like they're connected and want to get close to these Liverpool players.
Well, the stats say that Liverpool have entered the final third 37 times so far, compared to the 6 for Leeds. But this time they go long, and it's beyond Henderson and out of play. And Henderson kind of occupying those areas on the right where a natural right back would probably push up and help the likes of Salah. Does it kind of suit him to be in those kind of areas, you think?
Well, we've seen him, haven't we, so many times for Liverpool where it gets played back into them areas and he's got decent delivery into the box. He's used that 2 or 3 times this first 25 minutes, but the added player in the middle of the pitch, I don't think it's really helping Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold. If he can be the guy on the outside putting the balls in, we know the quality that he's got.
Free kick here for Leeds, which will relieve some pressure. The Leeds fans appreciating that as well, as they give themselves a chance to catch their breath here. It was an arm actually up from Rodrigo in the face of Fabinho as well. But it's Rodrigo wins the free kick.
Strange decision there by Craig Pawson. This won't do Leeds any harm, actually, having a break in play, just to regroup a little bit.
It's Fabinho who's down. His facial expression knows, or kind of shows that he's just taken one fairly firmly there. Looks like he'll be okay, but he's feeling the impact of that one. James Milner, Harvey Elliott among those on the Liverpool bench tonight. Thiago, Firmino, Tsimikas, Luis Diaz, Nunez, Matip on there as well. Well, for Leeds, they've got their sub-goalkeeper Joel Robles, and then Ayling, Forshaw, Cooper, Somerville, Rutter, Nonto, Verba and Greenwood. Nonto has certainly shown since he's come in that he's really got something about it.
Oh, I like him. I'm really surprised he's not playing tonight, actually. He's a huge threat.
Harrison after Sinisterra. Driving here, Alexander-Arnold's got Firpo on the outside. Sinisterra again running into Liverpool players. McKennie tucks it back. Big switch of play out to the right where it will be held by Harrison. Manages to loop it back into the area because the ball was about to run out of play. Salah inside his own box, trying to help it away, and in the end it's out of Firpo.
It's good pressing by Junior Firpo, just followed Salah all the way into his defensive box. That's where Leeds United, if they can be a little bit more aggressive in their press, that will really help them tonight.
28 gone, Leeds 0, Liverpool 0. Leeds take a point in this one if they could hang on.
I think so. I mean, judging by the start of this game, they look like they're going to spend a lot of time out of possession, and we know the quality that Liverpool have got, and not just on the pitch. You've just mentioned the substitutes there. There's some brilliant options for them if they get into that hour mark and they can bring a Firmino on, or a Nunez is on the bench, and great to see Luis Diaz back amongst the substitutes as well. I think they've missed him.
Free kick here to Leeds, played out to the right hand side. Christensen trying to knock it across. It's out of Robertson. Leeds have had to withstand plenty of pressure, but as this first half has progressed, they've managed to get themselves into advanced areas, haven't they?
They have, yeah, and Rodrigo want the ball a little bit earlier into the box. They've had 2 or 3 opportunities where Leeds can maybe utilise that early cross, and they've turned it down.
Harrison on the right wing, no top back here to Aronson, inside the box, and surely a push in the back there. Referee says no penalty. Sinisterra on the left, running here Alexander-Arnold, back inside now, struck towards goal by Roca over the top, but should they have had a spot kick?
I think there'll be an argument for it. I think if that was to be anywhere other than the 18-yard box, that maybe have been a foul.
Second viewing.
Yeah, probably not.
I think we both have the same thought initially. He certainly put him off balance.
Absolutely, he's definitely gone to strike it with his left foot there, Aronson, and Van Dijk got caught a little bit, didn't he? Ran his feet, pushed him with his left arm and just disbalanced Aronson. Maybe outside the box that would have been a penalty, but...
Yeah, you're never going to get a VAR overturn for something like that, though. Something as subjective as that, when the referee's had a clear line of sight to it as well.
I think there's about 4 stone in between them 2 players as well, isn't there?
Yeah, not too much there on Brendan Aronson. One of the growing USA network of players at this club. Plenty over the last few years. Diogo Jota. Back to Van Dijk. Jota again. Such a goal-filled first season at Liverpool. He's had injury issues since then. Trying to jink between 2 players here, but no free kick. It's time to get up and get on with it. A man who can go either way, comfortable on either foot. Doesn't like to run at players. Very tenacious player as well when he's fully fit and firing. Throw in Liverpool. Leeds giving it away, and Robertson down the line here to Diogo Jota. And Jota on the edge of the area, lifting it in high now, but asking a lot there of Gakpo. And Melia comes to collect. Frustration that Leeds have given that ball away in the first instance.
Yeah, it's just that early possession where they can take control of the game a little bit better. They're working so hard, this Legion. You can't accuse them of not working hard, but when they do win the ball back, they're giving it away very early.
Well, Liverpool had 75% possession so far, but Leeds have had 5 of the 8 shots in this one. Down the line here for Jones on the left for Liverpool. Diogo Jota's gone past him. Back into Robertson, who thought was going to wind up for a cross, but it's a cross-field ball in the end, onto the head of Henderson, who nods it down for Alexander-Arnold. Leeds have conceded 10 goals so far this month, more than any other Premier League side. They've only kept 5 clean sheets in their last 35 league games as well. Opposition normally good for a goal, which Liverpool haven't always been recently. Failed to score in 3 of their last 5. Christensen away here for Leeds, but no one there to pick it up near halfway. That is apart from Virgil van Dijk. Fabinho now forward into Jones. Henderson. Jones. On the right hand side is Salah. Back to Alexander-Arnold. Looking square. Van Dijk pushed up midway inside the Leeds half, but his first touch was really poor, and it sets Liverpool back. They have to go back to Canale on halfway. Fabinho forward to Henderson. Zigzagging their way across the field here, Liverpool. Salah. Alexander-Arnold, edge of the area, tries the reverse ball into Diogo Jota, but too much on it, and it skips out of play for a Leeds goal kick.
Yeah, you just mentioned there about the amount of goals that Leeds United have conceded in this last month. I think if you're a Liverpool player playing out on this pitch tonight, you've got to realise that and recognise that and put this back four under a little bit more pressure. We've not seen too many times has it gone into wide areas and an early cross coming to the box. There's a lot of passing taking place, but I'm not too sure they're going anywhere with this possession, Liverpool.
But the stats do say that Liverpool have missed more big chances than any other of the big top 10 sides in this season, so they're creating plenty but haven't always taken those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, they're spending a lot of time, aren't they, in and around the edge of this Leeds United box.
Sorry, go on.
Cody Gakpo and people like Jota, they'll be wanting them early balls in from, you know, if Salah gets down that wing, or, you know, if Alexander-Arnold's there, they've got great delivery. fantastic ability in possession, but perhaps to speculate a little bit earlier might go to Liverpool's advantage.
Throw in here, and Christensen, will take for Leeds. Exit downfield, looking for the run of Aronson. McKennie nods it forward. Fabinho now knocks it down to Alexander-Arnold and just manages to get Liverpool out of a tight area in the middle, but Alexander-Arnold overruns it. He's got it back now into Salah, who can run at the Leeds back line. Alexander-Arnold in the box, across to Gakpo! Liverpool lead Ellen Road. Claims of offside for Leeds United, but the flag didn't come. And Cody Gakpo strikes to give Liverpool a much-needed lead.
Well, it's everything we've been speaking about that early box ball across the face of the goal. I think Firpo's saying it's handball, and it does look like it's hit Trent Alexander's arm. There might be a review here.
I mean, considering he's got a help off that as well, he's almost kind of edged it forward off his elbow, hasn't he?
You'd be very disappointed if you concede by that type of goal. Again, that first pass out of pressure has been given away by Leeds United. Poor from their side, but I think we're talking about a handball here, James.
VAR tonight is Tony Harrington. He's at Stockley Park, just outside Heathrow. Will there be a review? It certainly looks like handball, but it looks like the goal's going to stand. Indeed it is.
Incredible.
I find that extremely surprising.
Absolutely incredible. It's a clear and obvious error for me. It's something that frustrates me when we've got all these cameras and we've got these people sat upstairs in Stockley Park. Everybody can see that Trent Alexander-Arnold has led with his right arm there. He's intercepted it with his right arm. Very disappointing to concede.
Strangely, not that many complaints from Leeds, though, and they're the ones who can see it at close quarters. Obviously, the assistant referee on that side as well had a good view of it. There maybe was more concern looking along the offside line, but strange.
Really strange.
You know, when you're in a club in the Premier League, you know, what kind of briefings do you get on that kind of thing? Do you get constant communication in terms of things from the referees? And we'll talk about that in a second. There's a free kick here, actually, for handball for Leeds.
Yeah, you do. You do. You know, you're constantly in dialogue with the PG MOL, and it's frustrating from a manager's perspective when it's that lack of consistency, isn't it? You know, a clear and obvious error like tonight, in my opinion, is not deemed consistent enough to give that type of free kick, and it just baffles me. It really does.
Deemed no case to answer there, though, by the VAR. Howard Webb, the head of the ref's body, has issued plenty of apologies since he's come into the job.
But take nothing away from Alexander-Arnold when he does get into the final third, and it's the first time we've seen this Liverpool team want to cross the ball early.
Jota sliding in here to Fabinho, who will try and return it to Diogo Jota. Gakpo getting away from a couple and playing it out to Salah on the right hand side. Running here at Firpo, trying to get back to defend as well. Rocker. Henderson now lifts it into the area, looking for the run of Salah. Away by Stout. Aronson running into Alexander-Arnold. Sinisterra. Rodrigo near the halfway line. Good feet to get away from Alexander-Arnold. Now on the left hand side, Aronson trying to run here at Canale. Doesn't fancy the one-on-one battle, so comes back of it. Now plays it inside to Sinisterra. Gets away from Curtis Jones really easily. Now eventually won back by Diogo Jota. And suddenly Liverpool can get forward here. Leeds aren't set. Liverpool have three forward. Leeds have three back. Salah inside the area left. Salah! 2-0. And that's where Liverpool can hurt you. Leeds have been stubborn defensively so far. They've been tight. They've been resolute. But the twice they've been carved open, they've conceded.
And it's a great finish, isn't it, by Mo Salah. He's actually not been involved in this game too often in the first 38 minutes, but that's Salah at his best. Interception in the middle of the pitch. Leeds spent too much time in possession. Brilliant breakaway and a wonderful, wonderful ball by Jota, and an even better finish. Let it run across him, found the roof of the net. 2-0. It's game over for me. This Leeds United team look like they're flat. They're lacking inventiveness in the final third. And what worries me most about it is the reactions from this Leeds team.
I'm not sure that Salah actually knew necessarily that he was in there either. He suddenly seemed to turn and thought, I've got a shot on here, and just lashed it into the net. Loves scoring against Leeds. That's now 8 Liverpool goals in 6 Premier League games against them. Scored here last season, and he's netted here again. That was in the 3-0 win. This one for 2-0, and we've still got 6 minutes left of this first half.
If you're an attacking player and you're watching this game tonight, what an example about letting the ball run across your body. Sometimes you don't need to take a touch. His body language was brilliant. He just opened his shoulders, let it run across onto his most dominant foot, and a great delivery into the roof of the net. A brilliantly executed finish.
How does Grazie and Leeds attack this now? Because you've set up deep, well, not necessarily deep, but you've set up in a tight, congested unit, and now suddenly you've got to try and find a way back in this game when you've already got a reasonably bad goal difference as well that you probably don't want to make any worse.
Well, he will want half time to come very, very quickly to reassess his group. They miss Bamford, don't they? I mean, they just haven't got the outlet. And I'm wondering, I'm looking at the bench now, maybe a Rutter comes on and he can be that focal point, because as honest as Leeds have been, they just haven't got that outlet. And that's been a big problem for this Leeds United team for a couple of years now.
And judging by your facial expressions as well, I think you're probably saying they've made a lot of wrong decisions in the final third as well, when they've run into traffic, when there's avenues open either side of them, and that's the difference.
For me, it's simple. Liverpool play with a 3-man midfield. Why do you want to keep the ball into central areas? Surely you go into wide areas and you expose your fullbacks more so, not being disrespectful here, but get the ball out wide to your left winger. Go and have a left footer against him. They've got a right footer there. Sinisterra is playing inverted winger.
Liverpool fans singing to Leeds, you're going down with the blue side. Noting Everton's struggles this year. Leeds coming back here though. They could do with one before half time, and Aronson has been fouled here by Fabinho, who's put in a couple of interesting tackles in the last few weeks that haven't been punished as some people think they should have been.
It's another one.
Nowhere near the ball there, Fabinho, after it had been knocked past him by Aronson. It wasn't really a scissor challenge. It was a bit awkward really, the way he kind of turned, and he has been yellow carded. First booking of the game here for the Liverpool number 3. 3.5 left of normal time in the first half. A free kick here that is 10 yards, 12 yards maybe outside the penalty area, left of the D. It's not really far enough out to be able to put loads of pace and whip on it. Time for players to get there and attack the ball. It's going to be lifted into the area here by Roca, high towards the far post, and it was Christensen who was closest to it, but Fabinho had to tuck it behind for a corner.
Yeah, safety first there by Fabinho. Followed the run really well. Leeds United's set play had a little bit of creativity about it. One of the defenders running around the back, and Fabinho just saw that early danger, deal with what's in front of him.
A corner then from the right this time. Taken by Roca, easily headed away by Liverpool. Trying to head it back in there, Sinisterra. Leeds try and recycle it to the right hand side. Suspicion of offside. Robertson in the end puts it into the away end. It's a Leeds throw. Christensen will come out to take it here. Ellen Road has been notably quiet so far. The fans haven't really had too much to get too excited about, but a sustained period of pressure here on the Liverpool goal. Suddenly we've got 2 balls on the pitch as Leeds try to attack. Always the case where a ball gets kicked off into the set of fans who are defending. They never want to give it back until it suits them. What's the referee doing now? Is he going to restart play here with a drop ball? He is. And suddenly Leeds have it on the right hand side of midfield. Harrison falls now for Christensen on the right. Aronson didn't really know whether to stay or go ahead of him. He wasn't really in a position to receive the ball. Eventually out of cock. And Liverpool have a throw.
I wonder how devastating the 5-1 loss to Crystal Palace could become if they don't get anything out of tonight's game and maybe concede a few more in the second half. Just how damaging that would be to this Leeds United team.
Back here to Melier. Leeds, in terms of games coming up, they've got Fulham away, Leicester here, then they go to Bournemouth. Certainly got some winnable games on the horizon, because then they've got Man City and Newcastle after that. They finish away at West Ham and at home against Tottenham. So the next few games for them probably going to be pivotal. If they can get 4 or even 5 points out of their next few, then that would certainly help them out. Currently sitting on 29 points. I think everyone earlier in the season, maybe just after Christmas, was looking at it and maybe saying, well, you know, low 30s would be enough. But, you know, some of the big teams, even Liverpool, who went down at Bournemouth, Wolves beat Liverpool. You know, other teams have been beaten. Bournemouth won at Spurs at the weekend. Yeah. Spurs, obviously, you know, not having a great season, but you would still expect them to win that game. And it's these big teams that are getting beaten that's, you know, skewing the whole thing, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. And we said, didn't we, before the game, if you're down there, you've got to beat one of the big teams. You need to go and throw a result into the equation against one of the top 6, top 8 teams, because I just think it's going to be low points this year.
2 minutes of added time. We're into those now. Leeds 0, Liverpool 2. Is it too negative for Leeds to try and shut this game down at half-time?
Well, what do? You've got a dilemma, haven't you? You know, do you want to come out and make a game of it in the second half, or is it damage limitations? You don't want to be hit for 5 again. You just mentioned the games that they've got coming up. You know, the next 3 or 4 are huge for Leeds United. You don't want to be going in there conceding 8, 9 goals. What worries me more about this Leeds team is this: when they get into the final third, they just look a little bit off the cuff. There's no number 9 there who wants to sit inside the 18-yard box and demand crosses into the box. Rodrigo doesn't do that, does he? He's more of a link player. You know, for me, he's a 10, but Leeds don't play a 10. You know, they like this 3-man midfield behind the centre forward, and it just doesn't work.
Alexander-Arnold plays it forward here for Liverpool. We've got 30 seconds left of the first half. I wouldn't say Liverpool can coast now, because you're only ever conceding a goal away from suddenly becoming a bit flustered and in a tricky position holding on to your lead. But the way they've been in possession so far as well, they can stroke the ball around here, can't they?
They can. I mean, you know, again, it's as interesting as what the half-time team talk's going to sound like for Leeds. I wonder how Jurgen Klopp approaches it, because we said this is a stage of the season where he's looking for consistency. It's been a good first half from their perspective.
And that is it. First half done. A few boos at half-time as well. Leeds fans not happy. They're 2-0 down at the break. Liverpool dominating possession, dominating the territory as well. Eventually got their breakthrough after 35 minutes in this one. Cody Gakpo tapping home after an Alexander-Arnold cross. Suspicion of a handball in the build-up to that one, but it didn't get ruled out. And then a second goal 4 minutes later. Salah, the scorer, after an assist from Diogo Jota. He lashed it into the top corner. Melier couldn't get near it. And Liverpool certainly in command here at the break. The half-time score, Leeds 0, Liverpool 2. We'll go over the first half moments in a few minutes' time. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Previously.
Few minutes time, but let's take a look back at those weekend games. And Chelsea beaten at home by Brighton on Saturday, and what a goal it was as well from Julio Enciso to win it for the Seagulls. Frank Lampard under pressure already. He's lost all 3 of his games in charge, but after criticism of the owner Todd Bowley, he has spoken out in the last few days and said that Bowley is well aware of how much the success of the club means to the fans and how passionate they are as well.
Passion goes both ways. The fans show passion. I don't think that the ownership or anybody would come and be involved in Chelsea and expect anything else than the fans to have a complete passion for wanting this club to do well. We've been fortunate enough to be very successful for a lot of years, last 20 years, so, which means you want more of it. So I don't think that anyone needs schooling on that. I think that's very clear. And I think also with the word passion coming from both sides, passionate owners who want to make a difference and have a real vision for the club. And we're in probably the early stages of a process on those terms. And again, keep getting asked a lot of the same sort of stuff again about when you look at processes in the Premier League and teams that want to rise to stay at the top, and at the minute we're just off that, we know. People always question everything in the beginning and in the early part of the process. And I think there's an important part for us working is that we just kind of get our heads down and work with what's in front of us. But passion and that is normal. I don't think it's a problem. I certainly don't find it as a problem. We can all be passionate together and work in the same direction to get where we want to be.
The words there, Frank Lampard. Chelsea was ahead of their second leg of their Champions League quarter-final against Real Madrid tomorrow. You surprised Lampard went back in?
Yeah, really surprised. I can see it to a certain degree, and I thought it was probably giving the fans a little bit for what they wanted, probably become disattached from Graham Potter.
An emotional move.
Yeah, it was an emotional move from Todd Bowley, and but it's not gone well, has it? You know, I thought it was always going to be hard, the Real Madrid game. You know, of course, you can take the most amazing Chelsea team to Real Madrid and still come away losing. But the performances against Wolves and Saturday as well against Brighton, that's really concerning. And I think Frank Lampard will be probably slightly surprised himself that is the Chelsea manager between now and the end of the season.
Do you think too much is put on the fact they haven't got a number 9 that they want to play, because Aubameyang seems to be out of the picture to a certain extent? Do you think there's more to it than that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, if you're sat there they've got some good players, some great players, but there's a lot of them there. It's very difficult to manage that amount of players. It's probably a disbalanced club as well in terms of where they are positional wise. They are lacking that number 9, of course, but they've been lacking that number 9 for a number of years now. But still, this Chelsea team should be a lot better than what they're performing at the minute.
Yeah, we'll see how they get on tomorrow against Real Madrid. That's going to be a tough one for them to turn around after that first leg. We'll see how they get on. We'll see how Leeds get on in the second half here. 2-0 down against Liverpool at the break. Second half coming up next. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Got an unquenchable thirst for sport? Get up to speed with the day's biggest sports stories with the Talk Sport Hit. Crammed full of the latest team news, big match previews, and discussing the day's hottest topics.
An improvement week in, week out.
Plus, get all the latest results and full fan reaction to the biggest events in world sport.
It's a wonderful goal!
Satisfy your thirst for sports news with the Talk Sport Hit. Subscribe now on Acast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Previously on White and Jordan.
People are going to turn around and say this is all saccharine and sentiment. I know about sentiment. What's saccharin? Saccharin is a sweet way of looking at the world. I thought it was a soluble aspirin.
Comment, conflict and confrontation.
By God, it was eventful to say the least of it. You look at this and say, some celebrations are better than others.
Disagree to disagree.
Is it not a courtesy thing, though? Is it not a matter of courtesy? Oh, yeah, because football's full of courtesy. Are you serious? I'm absolutely serious.
Jim White and Simon Jordan continues weekday mornings from 10 on Talk Sport. Talk Sport Breakfast. The only breakfast show worth getting up for. Talk Sport Breakfast with Laura Woods and Ali McCoist. Updated, upmarket, up with the lark.
What just happened there?
Talk Sport Breakfast, Monday to Wednesday morning from 6 on Talk Sport.
Mariella Meets on Times Radio. Listen to the podcast from Times
Times Radio, where Mariella talks to a host of big names from the worlds of politics, entertainment, culture and the arts, including Dame Joan Collins.
A reporter said to me, "What are you going to do if this all ends?" And I said, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. One of the things you have to know about fame is it ain't gonna last.
Mariella Meets on Times Radio. Listen for free on the Times Radio app.
TalkSport Drive, weekday afternoons from 4 on TalkSport. Unrivaled, opinionated comment from the biggest names in sport. Join me, Andy Goldstein, and TalkSport Team Drive. A tower of sporting power in the afternoon. Adrenaline-soaked, seat-swapping high-performance radio where horsepower meets goal power. TalkSport Drive. 100% nationwide coverage. Weekday afternoons from 4 on TalkSport. The fastest football on the way home. TalkSport Drive.
Hey, it's Brian Dunseth, former Olympian and current Sirius XM FC host. Do you need more than your average recap of the weekend in soccer?
Sorry, America, but it is the biggest sport in the world.
Well, look no further than Week in the Tackle. This podcast is all about stories we want you to know, from the most important on-the-field moments to the lighter side of the beautiful game.
You were jumping up and down like a lunatic. That's 7 beers before the game for you.
It's all on Week in the Tackle, available every Monday, wherever you stream your podcast or listen on the SXM app, included with most subscriptions.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Leeds United against Liverpool from Ellen Road. I'm your host, James Field, and alongside me is the former Leeds United midfielder, Sean Derry. This is Premier League Live, and the team's on their way out here for the second half. Luke Ayling, I think, having a word with the referee. He's just gestured with his elbow as though to say, how was that not handball for one of the Liverpool goals? But Craig Pawson walking off into the distance, not too interested in having a discussion about that. But Leeds, they've got to get on with it here, haven't they? They can't worry about that too much, whether or not it was a right decision. They've somehow got to find a way back into this game, but there aren't going to be any changes at the break by the looks of things. Apparently now that goal from Mo Salah means he scored the most left-footed goals in Premier League history. Takes him to 106 ahead of Robbie Fowler's 105.
It was a great finish, wasn't it? Fantastic. Just let it run across his body and found the roof of the net. Typical Mo Salah. Great finish.
Back underway, and Liverpool attacking the south stand here at Ellen Road in this second half. 2 seconds old here, the second period, as fans continue to retake their seats here. It will be one of the final Monday games of the season. Can often be games of not too much entertainment, but we have had a couple of goals here at least. Good forward here for Sinisterra. Aronson with a ball over to the right hand side of Harrison, but hit it so high. Harrison had to wait for it to drop down. Sinisterra, Harrison, Christensen on the right, trying to cross, hits Robertson. Christensen again by the corner flag, and wins Leeds a throw, and a bit of vibrancy about their play at the top of the second half.
Yeah, good start here by Leeds. Just lack a little bit of detail in that final third.
Well, hang on. There's a VAR check here for a potential handball against Robertson, but quickly ruled out by the referee. Fabinho gives it away. On the right-hand side now, McKennie. He's crossing towards the near post towards Rodrigo. Canate got there first. Headed by Jota. Didn't really make contact. Leeds fans making their feelings known about what they think of the video technology in the Premier League at the moment. It's fair to say a number of fans have been disillusioned with it this season. Was it handball for you? Arm was tucked in.
It was handball. The goal for me, a massive amount of fortune from...
Oh no, sorry, the one against Robertson.
Oh, sorry,
there.
No, not there.
Oh, Leeds could be in. Sinisterra! Yes! And Leeds are back in it straight away! 1 minute 50 seconds into the second half, and Ellen Road has life in it again. Just what Leeds needed, and Liverpool are on the back foot here.
Well, what an absolute massive error there by Canate. Just lacked conviction. He actually wanted to play the ball early, got caught in possession. Brilliant pressing there by Sinisterra, and what a sublime finish. This is the lift that Leeds United needed. Game on, second half.
lifted it up over the advancing Alisson and right into the corner of the net. All the fans behind the goal waiting to see whether it would be the right side of the post or not. Maybe just kissed it on the way in as well as it nestled into the net. And Leeds have a goal back straight away.
Well, we talked about Salah's finish in the first half. That was sublime, wasn't it? The second finish we've just seen there. Brilliant, brilliantly executed. Just waited for Alisson to drop to his knees and little dink over him. Pressure finish as well. Big error there by Canale.
You see how aggressive Leeds go now. Giving themselves a foothold in this game. Canale back here to Alisson. Rodrigo pressing. Van Dijk now feeling the heat as well. Great sliding challenge by Harrison. And they've got the Leeds fans back on side.
And this is exactly what we spoke about. How was Javi Gracia approaches a half-time team talk? He's obviously not made changes, but within it, he's pushed this team 20-30 yards higher up the pitch. And then he needed to.
Is that really hard to do when a game's ongoing? Is it not something he could have done in the first half, for example? Does it take getting the whole group around him to be able to do that?
At times, yes. I think, they were so fragile at 2-0, weren't they? Just waiting for the half-time to take place, and he's made that big call and it's worked.
Offside here. And Liverpool have a free kick inside their own defensive third. Seeing the touch from Canale again, who's far too relaxed on the ball. Sinisterra taking it off him. Canale knows that was all his fault. It's a knock on the back of his head from Van Dijk as though to say, come on, you've got this. Liverpool taking their time, just trying to tactically slow the game down a bit here to help things in their favour. Canale here stepping out. Rodrigo at his back holds him down. Free kick. Only one yellow card from the first half. It was shown to Fabinho. We needed that goal, didn't we? Quickly.
Absolutely. I think the game needed it as well. Obviously delighted from Leeds' perspective that they're back in the game. But was wondering how this second half would take place, whether Liverpool would just sit, take the 2-0 and, play at 60%. They can't play at 60% no more. This Leeds United seems different.
Salah trying to play it up the line here. It's blocked by Firpo.
I think these Leeds fans just want to see their team play on the front foot, play with a little bit more aggression and a bit more honesty. Didn't probably see that from their team in the first 45 minutes.
I think it's all well and fair if you're playing against an elite side like Manchester City, who clearly, have the upper hand, but against a Liverpool team that have been out of sorts for much of the season, I think as a fan, that's maybe where you're saying, come on, if everyone else had a go, we can have a go as well.
Well, these fans would have witnessed Liverpool going to places like Wolves and Wolves playing and beating them at their place.
Henderson into Diogo Jota inside the area, left-hand side. Dribbles one right across the face of goal and out for a Leeds goal kick.
And I think they'll be expecting them to give a more honest performance and a more brave performance. I didn't feel that they showed a lot of bravery in the first half, Leeds.
Diogo Jota there couldn't get his angles and composure right. Meslier with a kick away up towards halfway and towards Sinisterra. It was a fairly low flat goal kick, just couldn't quite control there the Colombian, and it's out of play for a throw-in to Liverpool.
Seeing Javi Garcia there on the sideline pushing his team up the pitch.
Gakpo making a run ahead of him. Oh, he slipped it through first time. Jota's there ahead of Meslier, and Diogo Jota has scored just as it looked as though Leeds were back in the game. Jota grabs his first goal for a year and re-establishes Liverpool's 2-goal lead.
And that's the danger. The danger is when you've just scored and you want to be on the front foot as well, you've got to make sure that the defenders and the midfielders are connected. Not sure what Pascal Struijk's doing there, but he's got caught, hasn't he? It's a great finish, wonderful finish there by Diogo Jota. Lovely ball by Curtis Jones.
Any question over Meslier for you there? It was almost like he was waiting to receive the ball back in his area, then kind of had to scurry across and found himself on the edge of his own penalty area.
Well, he's made his mind up early to leave his box and to go out to the feet of Diego Jota. I'd be probably pointing my finger a little bit more at Pascal Struijk.
Great finish though by the Portuguese into the corner. So a couple of chances tonight and he makes it count there. 3-1 Liverpool. Leeds coming again here with Harrison. Maybe room for more goals. McKennie, nice exchange there with Harrison. But in the end it's out past Harrison. It's a Liverpool throw and Grazie will be oh so frustrated with the way that goal came about.
And this is what I mean about managers who make big decisions at half time. He's made a big decision, he wants his team to push, but when you're pushing like that you've got to make sure there's no individual errors. That goal came down to an individual error for me. Pascal Struijk just got caught wanting to win the ball too early, left a huge hole behind him, and a brilliant pass by Curtis Jones and an equally brilliant finish.
Jones wins a free kick here. Sinisterra was nibbling away at his ankle. Jones has to take his boots off here and redo the laces to get himself sorted out. Liverpool lead. Jones just redoing his laces here. It's his third successive Premier League start here tonight. Only made one start all season before that. He's found himself in the side. Fabinho. And pushed all the way there by Aronson. It's back with Van Dijk. Robertson. Is there anywhere else, particularly in this Liverpool side, that Jurgen Klopp will be looking at in the summer and saying we need a bit of a refresh there?
Well, we spoke about the midfield three. That's probably why we're seeing Curtis Jones playing as often as he is at the minute, because he's got legs, hasn't he? He's got that ability to get around the pitch.
Hang on a sec, we'll come back to that because Sinisterra down the left-hand side. Firpo's gone past him. Konate getting back with a wonderful sliding challenge, showing his defensive best there after his error a few minutes ago, and he's now gone down with some kind of injury, rocking backwards and forwards here. The Leeds had restarted, but the referee's now stopped play and Konate holding his leg.
Brilliant defending there by Konate. Recovered really well, won the ball, and unless he gets caught with no, it's not a foul, I'm not sure what.
I mean, he was made contact with a couple of times, but not to the extent where you would stay down.
Now, to answer your question about this Liverpool team, are they going to look at full-back areas again and maybe look at the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation?
But Klopp really likes him, doesn't he?
I, for one, wouldn't want to see him leave this Liverpool team. I'm a massive fan of him in possession. You might see him in midfield next season.
Robertson tries to play one over the top here, and Salah onto it for Liverpool. Meslier coming, Salah over the top, headed away by Koch. And now a flag goes up for offside against Salah. It wouldn't have counted.
Well, that's the dilemma, isn't it? When you're pushing your centre halves 20 yards a little bit higher than perhaps in the first half.
And the centre forward situation's interesting with Liverpool as well, isn't it? Because Nunez came in, great fanfare, great goal record at Benfica in that massive season he had last year. But he has played off the left at times this season, hasn't he? And, you know, opportunities to play him through the middle. He's been left on the bench. Where do you see him fitting into the dynamic up there?
I think he's a number 9. You know, for me, as a number 9, when he plays out left, he's got that unbelievable amount of pace. But he's not clinical. He's not, he's not got that creativity. He's a dynamic player.
He's only 23, 26 and 28 he got for Benfica last season after only 6 and 29 the year before. Big money paid for the Uruguayan, who surely will have a bigger part to play next year after a full pre-season. Aronson for Leeds. Can they pull another goal back here? Sinisterra on the left wing, running at Van Dijk. Sinisterra trying to go inside past him. The option was there to run on the outside. Crossed in high by Roca. Headed away by Robertson, but only to Aronson on the edge of the D. Curls one! Oh, just past the far post. And Alisson not at all happy with the defence in front of him there. That shot was allowed to come in with venom, and he was only inches away. Didn't even hit the outside of the post there. It was bending, it was whipping, and it nicked the angle of post and crossbar.
Aronson just gambled, hasn't he? He knew the ball was going into the middle of the box, and he's just gambled on the front foot. First touch was brilliant. What a strike. Alisson was well beaten there.
Be right to have a go at the back line in front of him. Leeds having a bit of a mini spell here. Rodrigo looked like he was caught by Van Dijk, but play goes on. Gakpo now managing to turn in midfield, and he can run at the Leeds back line. Salah trying to time his run to his right. Gakpo going on, he was taken down. Free kick Liverpool in a shooting position as well.
Just looking at the movement there of Salah, he's hoping for the ball from Gakpo a little bit earlier. He's made some great little runs in behind Firpo, and Gakpo just stayed in possession for too long. And a foul at the end of it. Great opportunity from a set play for Liverpool.
Salah was just waiting and waiting and waiting, wasn't he? And that ball just never quite came in the end. I think a yellow card has been shown here to Junior Firpo. I thought it would be anyway. Maybe not. But it is a free kick for Liverpool. The two full-backs over it here. You'd imagine Alexander-Arnold will be the man to take this. Let's see what they can come up with here. It's probably about 30 yards from goal. Alexander-Arnold's standing over it. Robertson as well, just right of centre, three-man Leeds wall. Meslier bouncing up and down. Alexander-Arnold lifts it in centre. Van Dijk across goal, and Salah with a tap in. So simple, but offside. Nicely worked.
It was a great free kick, wasn't it? We was all expecting him to shoot, weren't we? But he just cut it at the last minute. Just offside.
His head's off, innit, Van Dijk.
But a brilliant free kick. Leeds got caught big time there, didn't they? Had no idea what was happening.
I think it's definitely going to be offside here, but it's gone to VAR, but you can see that Van Dijk's head is above and beyond the shoulder of Christensen, which is the marker for offside, the armpit as it is now.
Just offside.
I don't think there'll be too much debate about this, although we have seen a few this season where a player's looked on or off and the decision has gone the opposite way to what you were expecting.
Lovely free kick. Brilliant creativity there by Trent Alexander-Arnold.
How much emphasis is there on set plays at the moment?
I think they are the biggest part of the game. You know, they can differentiate such tight games, and the quality that these Premier League players have now got, they can put it wherever they want to put it.
Now, why is this taking so long to check this offside? It looks so clear cut on the replay that we're seeing, and he is offside, and we have got to the decision eventually. The lines don't overlap, so there is that margin for error at the moment, but it's not even close to that, and Van Dijk is off. The goal won't stand.
And that's what's frustrating. It was so obvious to be offside. It took nearly a minute. And this pace of the second half has been brilliant.
Van Dijk's header down. Into Jones. McKennie challenging him. Leeds with a bit more bite in their play in this second half, a bit more aggressive. It's paid dividends to a certain extent anyway.
This is what these fans want at Ellen Road. They demand the Leeds United team to play with aggression, with pace.
Liverpool coming again though. Salah down the right. He's scored in 4 games in a row against Leeds now. The Leeds did win at Anfield earlier this season, back at the end of October. Crescencio Somerville netting a minute from time to give the Yorkshire side all 3 points. Henderson back into Canate. Van Dijk. Left he goes to Jones. Robertson's ahead of him down the left side. Fabinho lifts it into the area looking for Salah's run. Firpo's header away. Henderson down the right. Low into Salah. Keepy-ups he's doing in the box and was just edged off it there in the end by Strout. In the end, a free kick conceded by Gakpo as he nudged over Roca.
Just watching Salah's movement. Firpo needs eyes in the back of his head, he really does. He's running behind him all the time. He's causing him massive problems in his second half.
Leeds simply cannot afford to concede a fourth here. They've got to continue to apply the pressure on Liverpool as they have in this second half so far. And they've got to make sure they're clinical in front of goal as well. Christensen, nice pick up on the right. Harrison, back towards Christensen, who goes down on the edge of the area. It was Jota's challenge. Liverpool breaking out now with Robertson. Diogo Jota. Robertson going on the outside. His ball back to Gakpo, edge of the area. He'll set it now for Salah! 4 for Liverpool. And that is game over. Mo Salah on the spot again for Jurgen Klopp's Reds, who are running away with things here at Ellen Road, and fans are heading for home already.
Oh, it's a great goal. It really is. All the way from the defensive third for Liverpool. Brilliant interplay. Jota and Robertson. And it's a magical, magical goal from Liverpool. It really is. Pace, purpose, power. Look at that from Robertson. A great first touch. Lifts his head. Gakpo plays a lovely ball into Salah. And you know that's it in the net from there.
From Gakpo, though, he could easily have shifted it and shot himself, couldn't he? But to have the awareness and composure to play someone in instead.
Yeah, I think it just the flow of the move determined that his final outcome was going to be an offset into Mo Salah. As soon as he opens his body, it's game over.
And the Liverpool fans celebrating away to our right-hand side. There is going to be a double change here for Leeds in a second. Ruter and Somerville are going to come on for Aronson and Rodrigo. But not yet. Liverpool continuing here after players restarted. They're in possession as they have been for much of the night. Over 70% of the ball. Jones here. And they can add 5, they can add 6 if they want.
They can. We spoke about how demoralising a heavy loss could be this evening, just on the back of Crystal Palace last week as well. Going into that next group of 3 or 4 games. Really worrying for Leeds, because at times they look like, you know, they can really match Liverpool, and at other times they look... It was a great play by Jones.
Jones rolls it nicely. Gakpo on the edge of the area. Couldn't quite bring it under his control there. It was a good challenge against him to get the block in, and it goes through to Melia. The Leeds' defensive weakness and fragility exposed almost every time Liverpool come forward.
I said this at half time, you know, the balance that they've got in front of this back four is wrong for me. They just can't get close to anybody, these two man midfield, McKennie and Roca. Take nothing away from the goals. The last 2 goals for Liverpool have been brilliant.
Leeds are going to make a double change here. Rodrigo coming off, he passes on the captain's armband, and Jorginho Ruter is going to come on. Ruter, the Frenchman who's had fleeting appearances in the last few weeks, played 12 minutes here against Palace. He's going to have a bigger chunk, and Somerville coming on as well, the man who netted the winner when the sides met in October. He is going to replace Aronson. 2 changes in the positions you'd have expected there, Sean?
Yeah, a little bit. I would definitely... you were a little bit worried, aren't you, if you're a Leeds fan watching the centre forward without Bamford. Very one-dimensional.
Roca trying to play it forward, away by Robertson. Nearly halfway through the second half. Leeds 1, Liverpool 4. That's the 28th goal that Leeds have conceded at home this season. Only Southampton have conceded more. Forward by Firpo. Into the path of Ruter, who's been manhandled a bit there by Canate, who concedes the free kick. Ruter, who was picked up from Hoffenheim in the middle of the season. Header back here by Robertson, has gone straight behind, and Leeds have an unlikely corner. Can they take advantage of this set-piece opportunity? It'll be one of the all-time comebacks for them to get anything out of this game now. The third corner of the game for them. Koch, Ruter, McKennie, all positioning themselves in the penalty area. Christensen up there as well. Harrison near the goalkeeper. It's towards Koch's head and wants it towards goal. Fabinho away. Sinistero underneath it now. He nods it down, but Liverpool can counter quickly and they can get bodies forward over the halfway line. Salah making ground to the right-hand side. It's Jones trying to help it on. But Jota couldn't take it, and it's played back, and Leeds back in possession with Meslier, who boots it straight out of play.
They're so susceptible to that counter-attack, Leeds United, even from the corner there. I know they're chasing the game, they want to try and get back into it, but the edge of the box, they only have two players on the edge of the box. Didn't win the first header. And they look like they can score at will, this Liverpool team now.
68 gone, Leeds 1, Liverpool 4. Liverpool with Forest at home on Saturday, in a midweek round next week. They travel down to the capital to take on West Ham, another of the sides battling against relegation, and then Spurs for them in a Big Six head-to-head in the final days of the month.
I think Jurgen Klopp would have been expecting 9 points from the next three, get this game and the next two, Forest and West Ham, and then of course it takes them into a big game at Tottenham, and they just look more like a Liverpool team tonight, especially the second half.
Certainly in the chances they're creating at pace as well.
Absolutely.
When they're running at Leeds. They haven't been able to get close enough to them. Fabinho. Alexander-Arnold back here to Van Dijk. Robertson.
Liverpool need to play at pace, don't they? Unlike Manchester City at sometimes when they slow the game down because of the width they play with, they just spread the opposition out so big and then they turn the pace on at the right time. Liverpool need to work this pace all the time.
Ball nearly broke here for Sinistero on the left-hand side, but it was deflected beyond him and out of play. Leeds throw. Do you think it might be very, very close for Leeds at the end of this season in terms of staying up? Do you think Everton will be right in the mix at the end as well?
Well, I mean, Everton have got a huge game this weekend when they go away to Crystal Palace. That's a massive game for them, but for me, Southampton are down. Leicester and Forest.
Leicester are the ones, aren't they? Because everyone's looking at that squad saying there's no way they should be going down. But, you know, maybe an underwhelming managerial appointment as well that hasn't exactly enthused the fans. You know, someone sat by Norwich earlier this season. Thrust back into Premier League life again. Somerville here on the right, pushed out by Van Dijk, his fellow countryman. It's now with Koch on the right. Koch forward into Somerville in the area on the right. It's a really good run, but it was knocked out of play by Robertson off Somerville, and it's behind for a goal kick.
It's good defending there by Robertson. Moved his body really well. Somerville took him on the outside, and it's actually a corner.
Somerville will give them a bit more running, won't he, in that final third area?
Yeah, he's got that ability, hasn't he? You know, he can drop his shoulder, he's got that one-on-one ability, but it's getting the ball to him. Leeds have found it very difficult tonight to get it to the front three.
Well, plenty of fans losing faith and heading for the exit, but still 20 minutes left to make a game of this yet. They'd really have to make a game of it to get anything from this game, and by doing so may leave themselves open as they are doing here. Gakpo in the middle, looked partially offside, he's gone left here to Diogo Jota in the area. Jota high over the bar, claiming a corner from the referee, says it went out of Christensen, but goal kick given.
Again, it's another brilliant breakaway by Liverpool, really is. One touch, two touch, playing at pace, supporting players, and they do look like a threat on this counter-attack. He'll be happy tonight, won't he? Jota spent a long time not scoring and
looking a bit more like his old self as well.
Big plus for Jurgen Klopp.
I think he is genuinely one of those players, and I hate clubs saying it when they sign someone, but he can genuinely play anywhere across the front. there aren't too many players that can genuinely do that, despite the hype that they get from.
Sometimes that can go against you. You know, if you're playing,
You don't have a defined position.
Yeah, and people go, it's okay, we'll leave him out because X, Y, and Z can only play in these certain positions. But he's been good tonight, Yotta.
Certainly a player in his time at Wolves that I can vouch for, that you didn't really realise what you had until he'd gone. Like, you know, his numbers weren't necessarily that massive, but what he contributed to the team in terms of energy, pressing, and maybe that, you know, winning the ball back before someone then set someone up for a goal. He did so much in Wolves' early years back in the Premier League. Henderson on the right, his cross flashes past Salah. Jota strikes it. Oh, it's a brilliant goal! And it's 5-1 to Liverpool. Right on cue, Diogo Jota puts this game beyond Leeds United once and for all. And the Whites are getting trounced in front of their own fans.
Well, you've just spoken about him and what he gives to this team. He's surely contributed tonight. A brilliant goal from Liverpool's perspective. A lovely little ball there by Jordan Henderson. Picked him out on the edge of the box. Diogo Jota. And it's a good strike. Beat at the bottom corner by Ilian Meslier. A huge victory for Liverpool. This is a massive loss for Leeds, though. And there could be more.
Yeah, 3 goals in 22 minutes for Liverpool here, and Ellen Road is emptying rapidly. Now, this is not a good night to be a Leeds fan. It's not been a good 10 days or so to be a Leeds fan. 10 goals conceded here at home. It looks like they're heading towards consecutive 5-1 defeats. And we're seeing the hierarchy. Victor Orta, the sporting director, in the middle, either side of the owner, Andrea Radrizzani, and the CEO here at Leeds as well. They had to have a go a bit in the second half, didn't they, Leeds? And this is the cost of it, I guess.
Absolutely. They needed to come out. They needed to play a little bit higher. But that comes with a massive threat of being...
But Somerville inside the box, jinking his way through, and Harrison having a go. It was deflected over the top by Canale. Behind and out of play, and Leeds have a corner. Or do they? It looks like they do. Well, they could get a goal back immediately there. Great run by Somerville, but not too much space to work in. It was a good block, wasn't it, by Canale?
It's a great tackle at the dying death, it really is. Liverpool won't want to concede here.
In comes the corner, headed away by Robertson at the near post, and they could counter here as well, but Somerville hooks it back into the box, and Allison picks it up. He's going to pelt it downfield here, and Leeds have got so many forward, they need to try and get players back. Jota trying to nod it on. Header won by Firpo. Gakpo, though, to the left-hand side. Jones swings it in towards Salah, who's on a hat-trick now. His first touch lets him down, and it goes through to the goalkeeper. Both Jota and Salah chasing a treble.
I don't get this. You know, from a playing perspective, if you're losing 5-1 and you know you can't get back into the game, it's all well and good coming out the traps a little bit higher in the first 5-10 minutes of the second half. But this is so dangerous for Leeds. They look so fragile on the counter-attack. At some point, this is Javi Garcia bringing on 2 subs now to hopefully just shut up sharp and not concede anymore.
Gnonto and Forshaw are going to come on. Harrison and Sinisterra set to make way. Here is Sinisterra, edge of the area, on his right foot, going for goal, but sending it into the Revi stand. Going down with an injury, but he needn't worry because he's coming off anyway, and the referee telling him so. He's been a threat at times, hasn't he, Sinisterra, but he's got to come up with better quality than that when given an opportunity, or half chance as it was by Liverpool.
Yeah, he's just come on the inside. He looks like he's gone over on an ankle. Leeds don't want to lose any more players between now and the end of the season. But he is a threat. He's a threat in attack. I think he's somewhat of a liability in defence.
So Gnonto on for Harrison. What have you made of him tonight?
Again, in possession, I think he's done okay. It's really not sure why I saw him out there on his opposite side so early on in the game. It just doesn't seem to feel right at the minute for Leeds. These losses at this stage of the season are the huge 5 against Crystal Palace last week, a second half display which was so poor. And again, this second half display against Liverpool, which could turn out to be even more than 5.
Well, Klopp's going to give a few players minutes here. And when I say players, I mean Milner. Oh, hang on a second. Here towards Gnonto, just too high for him. Milner, Firmino, Luis Diaz making his comeback, and Darwin Núñez. Presumably neither Jota nor Salah are going to get the hat-trick. It's going to be 4 Liverpool changes all at once. Here's Gnonto. Giving it away. And his breakthrough into the Italy squad, and the international's just gone. Big comeback though for Luis Diaz. Liverpool coming forward again here. They're chasing number 6. Jota can't quite help it on enough here towards Salah. Leeds have now conceded 46 goals from open play this season, the most in the Premier League. They've shipped plenty of goals in the second halves as well. 36 now, which is also a high in the division. Alexander-Arnold. Back here to Konate. Leeds can't afford to feel sorry for themselves, though, can they? They've got to wipe this one off and get on with the next one.
Absolutely. I mean, they're fighting for their lives, aren't they? Premier League is so... it's ruthless. I can only use that expression. It really is. When you think they're in the game and then a couple of breakaways, and teams like Liverpool can really hurt you on the counter-attack.
Henderson wide to Gakpo here.
You know, they'll be back in at training tomorrow, I'm guessing, getting ready for the weekend's game, and you need your players to turn up and face the problems.
Do you think they'll dwell on it too much in terms of analysis? Do you want to at this stage of the season? Like, how do you attack it?
I think you need to address those 10 goals that they've conceded in the last 2 in the last 2 games. But you can't dwell on it. You know, you can't sit in that state of feeling sorry for yourself. But the players have got to take responsibility.
I always find it funny because you hear people in the media saying that performances don't matter at this stage of the season. It's all about results. Well, when do performances matter?
It's all about performances. Results take care of themselves. The performances in this last 2 games for Leeds have just not been good enough, have they? You know, does the manager look at different personnel? And he's been there a while now, 6-8 weeks, knows the players that he's got. Can he rely on them?
Alexander-Arnold trying to pick out Gakpo here, edge of the area again. First touch a tad loose. He was under pressure there as well from Strauch, and it goes through to Meslier. Liverpool trying to get these 4 subs on, but at the moment he can't do so because the ball hasn't gone out of play. It has now, and they will make those changes before the throw can be taken.
Talking about the subs, you know, we've not seen from Leeds' perspective their club captain Liam Cooper. You know, he's spent a lot of time on the bench, and he's surely got to be knocking on his manager's door tomorrow saying, well, hang on a minute, I know you don't probably fancy me, but for the last 2 games you've conceded 10 goals.
So the changes come here now for Liverpool. They're going to take off Jordan Henderson. They're going to take off Cody Gakpo. There's plenty coming off. In fact, we're going to have Gakpo off, Salah off, Henderson off, and Jota off. And not a bad quartet to bring on, is it? Former Leeds old boy, of course, James Milner, made his name here. And the Liverpool fans very happy indeed to see the return here of Luis Diaz. He has been training in the last couple of weeks after the knee injury that has kept him out of the Liverpool side for such a long time. He'd only made 8 appearances this season, involved here for the first time tonight since the 9th of October in the away game at Arsenal.
It's massive to see him back on the field. They've missed him. He's one of them players who can make things happen. He's got that individual ability in the final third. He's got that pace. It's good to see these boys back on the pitch.
And sorry, you're just saying about Cooper, you're talking about the leadership qualities that
Absolutely.
he can bring?
You know, he'll be there, I'm sure, you know, understanding what he brings to this football club. Leeds boy through and through. He'll be hurting tonight, Liam Cooper. You know, knowing his manager doesn't fancy him, it's got to hurt you. But then to go and concede 10 goals.
Somerville, edge of the area, goes down under a challenge. Shot comes in anyway. Hit with pace there by Mark Rocker, but straight at Allison. No free kick given in Leeds' favour after Somerville went down. There's made changes in this game. Liverpool have been able to make theirs in a bit more of a luxury position, though. Well, they hadn't gone 6 games without a win under Jurgen Klopp, and they're not going to here either. They haven't been 6 without a win since September 2015 when they were coached by Brendan Rodgers.
The second half display against Arsenal was brilliant. Absolutely. Surely gave all these boys in the red shirts huge amount of confidence.
Fabinho lifting it high and central here towards the run of Milner, who was getting on from midfield. Still offering plenty at the age of 37. See the kind of man that Liverpool want to keep around beyond this season?
Well, we just mentioned Liam Cooper there in terms of what he gives this Leeds United team. Even when he doesn't play, he'll be there, just like James Milner. James Milner has just been the most unbelievable professional. But probably now, for me, the time's right to look at different types. Can you keep his characteristics inside the football club? I mean, that'll be up to James Milner. I'm not too sure how many more years he wants to play. There'll be a lot of suitors wanting a James Milner, but if I was Jurgen Klopp, you'd be getting him onto the coaching team as quickly as possible.
Well, because someone like Milner, I don't think, you know, as a fan, you can really say how much he brings, because you don't see him on the training ground every day. But if you're a coach and you can see the kind of, you know, leadership qualities he brings and what, you know, the other players think of him, then, you know, you can see it from a different perspective, can't you?
Absolutely. And, you know, I know that Liverpool look sometimes to carry older players in there under 21s. Maybe, you know, but it's up to James Milner. What does he want to do?
Yeah, well, they brought back Jay Spearing, I think it was, wasn't it?
Jay Spearing's played, and Huddleston
United
plays at Manchester United. So them types of players are flown around.
As a under 23 coach as you were before you stepped into the first team, do you see value in that?
I do see massive value in it. I really do. So long as it's not at the detriment of the pathway of a young player who you've got high hopes for. Again, it'll be up to James Milner. His career will dictate where he wants to go next.
But as that older player in a 23s or 21s, whatever, is that just about guiding those younger players?
Absolutely. You learn so much off senior players. I surely did, definitely as a young player.
And then in reverse, what's that veteran pro getting out of that kind of situation?
Well, again, you know, if he's there on a player-coach role, he's just getting unbelievable insight into what it looks like on the other side of the pitch. You know, the tactical analysis that needs to take place at this top level is huge, and he sees it firsthand. I'm guessing Jurgen Klopp doesn't want to see the back of people like James Milner. Different for Henderson.
There's been another change made here by Liverpool. They've sent on Thiago here for Fabinho. So they freshen things up even more. He's 32 now, Thiago. Injuries have hampered his time at Anfield so far. They've still got Navigator out at the moment, and Stefan Plašetic, who had come in a couple of months back and had such a good impact in the midfield for Liverpool, but he's out for the season now with a groin problem. Liverpool now just stroking it around without too many problems at all. Leeds have lost what they had at one stage. You know, scored that goal 2 minutes into the second half, and it looked a totally different game, didn't it?
Well, they started off really well, gave them hope, didn't it? You know, at 2-1, it was a welcome first goal for Leeds United, and then it was that individual error, and that's cost them. The big error by I think it was it Robin? No, was it Robin Koch? I don't think it was. It was Pascal Struijk. Sorry, you know, Pascal Struijk in the second half. Was it Such a poor error of judgment to come out of his back four like that. It's really cost Leeds this second half.
Milner going back to the halfway line, and Canale square now to Van Dijk. Stepping forward, Thiago trying to lift it in behind. Liverpool still want number 6. Ball in, and Melia claws it away. Now to Jones on the left-hand side. Ball across goal, nearly squeezed in. I mean, they have had some massive scorelines this season, haven't they, Liverpool? They beat United 7, they put 9 past Bournemouth, was it, back in September kind of time? As bad as they've been overall, they've given out some real big beatings to some of these sides.
They've just got great ability in that final third, haven't they? You know, they really have. You look at the subs, I mean, the subs they brought on tonight could get into 95% of the Premier League teams. They've got great options in the final third. It's been defensively where it's not looked like a Liverpool team.
Robertson's corner from the right. Comes all the way out to Firmino on the left. Can't really shoot. He'll have to cross. Goes in low. Away by Koch.
Great turn there by Firmino. Such a good player. He's been brilliant for Liverpool.
It's interesting to see where he goes next in terms of what move he has. Do you think he'll stay in the Premier League?
I don't think he will. No, I don't think he will. I'm not sure he'll stay. Maybe finds himself into a Spanish team. He can see him.
Do you think the most hustle and bustle of the Premier League doesn't really suit his game so much? At
times, it just brings that calmness, doesn't he? You know, when he's not that runner in behind. He likes to play in front of back fours, and he links really well with midfielders. But the Spanish league's right up his street, isn't it?
Sure, he'll have plenty of offers.
Absolutely.
Ball over the top here. Núñez is in. It could be 6 yet. It is! Darwin Núñez! The substitute on off the bench makes it 6-1 to Liverpool. It's been a bad night for Leeds United, and it might be a bad season yet. They have been absolutely pummeled here by Liverpool.
And it's a great ball once again by Trent Alexander-Arnold. Just the weight of pass. And we've seen Núñez miss chances like that this season. Right in front of the goal. Spends too much time labouring in front of goal. Not tonight. Great first touch. Second touch took it out of his body. And a lovely finish to make it 6. The second touch is brilliant. Opens his body onto his left. Good finish. Great ball by Trent Alexander-Arnold.
They're checking for offside, but it looks like Firpo's playing him on. We're into 3 minutes of additional time. Not really sure how they've calculated that, but on we go. In fact, it's been upgraded now to 4 minutes as they check this potential offside.